from Team Evil Geniuses, bringing you this video with Nerdstomper.com. This video is going to be the second video on trilanes, and this video is going to focus on the 3v1 trilane, or a lot of the same concepts will apply to the 3v2 if the other team's not trilaning, but generally if you trilane it's either 3v3 or 3v1, so this is going to be a video that's paired with the 3v3 video on trilanes. The first thing to note about 3v1 trilanes is that trilanes always start as you don't know whether it's going to be 3v3 or 3v1 generally, since it's pretty hard to scout early on in the game. So your lane has to be set up to go against 3 heroes in the beginning, because otherwise you're just going to be in trouble if you're not prepared. So anyway, this replay is from the recent match between my team EG and DWI in the semifinals of a GR tournament. And it does end up with two 3v1 trilanes. DWI has Glacius, Andromeda, and Swiftblade at bottom, and EG has Behemoth, Voodoo Jester, and Flint Beastwood at top. Interesting to note that both teams actually have 4 really solid trilane heroes in Voodoo Jester, Behemoth, Andromeda, and Glacius. None of these heroes really need items early to be effective. Behemoth does need his portal key eventually, but early on in the game, these 4 heroes can be extremely effective without very many items. So that's why they were picked for the trilanes. And the hard carries are Flint Beastwood and Swiftblade. Swiftblade is actually a lot better, I find, in 3v3 trilanes because of the amount of burst damage you get from his Blade Frenzy. And Sniper, or Flint Beastwood rather, is a lot better in 3v1 trilanes because he's a ranged hero, which is pretty good for 3v3s, but otherwise he doesn't really contribute that much. Like, his slow is decent, but it's not as good as a normal spell. So, but he is going to get free farm this game, and Flint Beastwood with free farm is something that you should really be looking forward to if you're on his team. So that's the setup for the trilanes. One thing I didn't mention is that is the hero that's soloing on the bad lane of each side. For DWI it's Bubbles, and for my team EG it's Hellbringer. So Hellbringer is really bad for 1v3ing because he doesn't have an escape skill and he doesn't really have a good way to get creeps. So he really suffers in a 1v3, especially when it's in the bad lane. Whereas Bubbles is a lot better since he has an escape skill. Shell Serve is not only an escape skill, it's also a way to get creeps even when you're getting zoned out. And his third skill also helps him escape as well. So Bubbles is pretty decent for 3v1ing, but if the trilane is played well, which hopefully we're going to see in this video, it won't really matter whether you're Bubbles or Hellbringer, you're still not going to get any XP at all. So onto the trilane. Alright, so the first thing we see is that Dodo playing Hellbringer got a haste rune at bottom, and he also is going to use that to find out if his lane is 3v1 or 3v3. It's the first thing you want to find out. So he's going to use it to do a little scouting, just run around. I believe he's going to run into Andromeda here. Yeah, he's going to run into Andromeda, find out that he is indeed 3v1ing. So as soon as you see Andromeda, you know that Andromeda is a trilane hero, he's not a solo hero. So if you run into her, then you know it's going to be a 3v1 lane. On top of that, they also have Bubbles on top. So let's just take a moment to look at the map right now. So Bubbles right here cannot get any XP range here, because if he does, then he's going to tank infinite damage from Voodoo Jester, and he just can't afford to do that. So Bubbles is getting zoned out. Bottom, same thing. It's basically the same deal. Swiftblade is getting free farm. The only thing is that right now the map is a little bugged, so if no blocking occurs, then the creeps will actually be hit by tower. So this lane's going to push no matter what they do. At top, however, there's no bug, so the lane is probably going to stay in exactly this spot for the entire time of the trilane. That way, basically, if this state continues, Flint Beastwood will be getting every creep. The creep line will not move if he uses the concept I described in my lane control video. Basically just keeping the lane where it is, like hitting your own creeps whenever possible and then pushing the lane so it doesn't get to your tower. So he's going to keep the lane there, and Bubbles is not going to get EXP. He's just going to sit here while Voodoo sits on him, is basically the idea of what's going to happen. I know this was described as a trilane, but as soon as we found out that it was 3v1, we've decided that Behemoth actually did not need to be there, because Behemoth's not really doing anything. Like, look at this map. Voodoo is effectively zoning out Bubbles. Bubbles can't walk up, so there's no reason for Behemoth to be there. So Behemoth might as well be somewhere else, and the only place for him to be would be middle, looking for a gank. So This is an option a lot of support heroes take in 3v1 tri-lanes. Another option is to start stacking the jungle. He decided to gank middle because he is playing Behemoth, and Behemoth has a lot of level 1 potential if you get a block off. So that's the reason for everyone's positioning right now at the start of the game. Tri-lanes can be confusing, and I hope this cleared it up. Anyway, let's look at the map. Basically 30 seconds later, nothing has changed at the top. Bubbles is, he's standing a little closer since Voodoo Jester took a little time to stack a neutral camp, but he is still not getting any experience. Middle, it looks like there's going to be action soon. So basically, DWI does doing the same thing that my team was doing. Basically, once they realize that they only need one hero there to sit on the lone hero from Hellborn, the other hero goes to gank middle or do something productive with his time. So right in this case, Toronto went to gank middle. But we actually had our Behemoth sitting here anyway, so the gank is going to be unsuccessful for that reason. See how Chu is out of position, and he's still not going to die because Behemoth was able to get a fissure just in time, because he was just waiting there. Basically, when you're in a 3v1 tri-lane, you should designate one of the support heroes. Generally, if you have a range hero and a melee hero, like we have on Hellborn, the range hero should be sitting on the bubbles, since he can effectively zone with harassment, whereas the melee hero should go roam or do something else. But you should really designate only one guy to stay in the lane and bother this guy, while the other one goes to go roam. So here, look, there's a Glacius basically bothering Hellbringer, and the Swiftblade is free farming, and the Andro is roaming. So 3v1 tri-lanes often turn into 2v1s with one hero roaming. That's an important thing to do. If you just sit there with 3 heroes, then you're wasting time. One of the heroes should be doing something productive, and if you're just sitting there, then you're not. Another productive thing to be doing when you're the roaming hero is to check the rune. So Toronto here is actually scouting for it, but he's not going to get it because the other roaming hero on Hellborn actually gets to it first. So he's going to get to it, probably going to try something on Bubbles, but it's definitely not going to happen since Bubbles is just playing super careful. Since he already knows he's generally not going to get any experience, he's still level 1 at like 2 minutes in, and Flippies is already level 3, as you can see. So he's just going to run around with the haste, and maybe try something middle. Basically that's what it looks like. Grab runes and roam when you can, and when you can't, then you don't. Anyway, it looks like he had a haste, so he was able to harass FA a lot more than he should have. One error that we have here, or not really an error, but one like small problem we have in the early game is that Defiler is not really a hero that can like accept ganks really well. Like if you gank for her, there's not much she can do. All she can do is really cast her nuke. So ganking for her is kind of hard. So this 3v1 setup, while our top lane is getting much better than their bottom lane, since Swiftblade free farm is worse than Flint Beast free farm. Our middle is hard to gank for the roamer, so their middle is getting a little bit more of an edge from this. Anyway, the next thing I want to talk about is what this Glacius is about to do. So when you're playing in 3v1s, when you're playing the babysitting support hero, remember I said there's a roaming one and a babysitting one. So this guy's the babysitter. Basically, you should be sitting in fog, so the other guy doesn't know if you're sitting on the back, sitting here ready to gank him, or if you're doing something else. So he has to play back no matter what. So that basically gives you some free time, if he's playing back anyway, to do something productive like stack creeps. These creeps have already been stacked once, so watch as this Glacius does a triple pull. Basically he's stacking the jungle because Hellbringer is kind of has to stay back anyway. So look how careful he's playing. He basically is like walking up, getting a hit, and walking back. And Glacius is getting all this jungle stacking for his team while it happens. So now he's going to come back, and Hellbringer still just has to stay back. He doesn't know where Glacius is, so he has to just stay back, and he can't get any experience. So that's how 3v1s basically work. You have a babysitter, a roamer, and a main farmer. I haven't really talked about what the main farmer's doing because it's kind of boring. All I've really said is that he's keeping the lane there, which is really all he's doing. He's just sitting there and hitting creeps and keeping the lane where it's at. This is something, it's like keeping the lane where it is a skill that you need to learn if you're going to be the main farmer in a tri-lane. And I believe I already have a video on that. It's called lane control. So I'm not going to cover that here. Basically, they just need to keep the lane where it is, and the babysitter is going to sit on the side, giving them all the experience. Notice how that in 3v1 tri-lanes often create a huge level disparity. Look, on Hellborn we have 2 level 1s still, and flippy switch, and basically 3 solos, like level 4, level 4. And this guy's also kind of gift because he's not getting experience, so he's level 2. Oftentimes you get 2 farmed heroes, the solo mid and the guy that's getting babysat, and 3 really underfarmed heroes. It's generally a result of a 3v1 setup trilanes. Legion pretty much has the same deal. Level 1 Glacius, level 1 Andromeda, and a 3 and a 4, and their bubbles is getting set on pretty hard too. So that's basically how 3v1 setup trilanes usually end. One thing you definitely do not want to let happen in a 3v1 setup is creep pulling. So basically, the side on the favorite side, so basically top for Hellborn and bottom for Legion, or the side that has more heroes on it, does not want any creep pulling to occur. The reason for that is that the whole like tri-lane setup, where front's getting free farm here, is based on the lane not leaving this area. If the lane leaves this area, then a lot of things can happen. Bubbles can get experience. Like if the lane's over here, then Voodoo can't really zone him out, so his bubbles can get experience. So what the lane could get there, the only way the lane could get there is from creep pulling. So notice how Glacius could be pulling these creeps, but he hasn't done it yet because he doesn't want the lane to move. Bubbles, Hellborn also doesn't want the lane to move, but they're not doing a good job policing the bubbles. So Bubbles is going to be able to pull this lane, and by pulling it here, he's getting experience. Because first of all, his creeps are going to chase this, and then Hellborn's probably not going to let him get experience for the neutrals, but this is going to push his lane a little bit, so he'll be able to get experience at his tower. So this is a little bit of a mistake on EG's part, but basically just never let your opponent pull in a tri-lane, because that is pretty disastrous. So anyway, I remember how I said tri-lanes should always be checking the runes. Basically, if your hero is not getting experience in the lane, you should always just be checking runes. So Hellbringer here, not getting XP bottom, so we checked the rune. Behemoth checked the rune top. The only thing is he picked up Invisible Rune, and DWI has a Word of Revelation and a Word of Sight here, so they know he has it, they know where he's going with it. You need to be careful about that. If an enemy knows you got the rune, especially if it's invis, you need to watch out for potential Word of Revelations. So here, Andro is going back to buy a Word of Revelation. He's going to come back and catch Behemoth. So you always need to watch out for if enemies know you have an Invisible Rune, because they could always just buy a Word of Revelation and catch you off guard. Here Andro has a Word of Revelation. He's going to TP mid. He's going to TP here so he doesn't show that he has the Word of Revelation. It's really hard to like check his items when he just walks there, and he's just going to wait for the creeps to go, and he's going to kill Behemoth. If you remember this game, if you guys are watching this game on a stream or anything, then you'll know what happens, but I'm just going to leave it here so you can watch it on this video as well. Basically, exactly what I said. He puts a Word of Revelation down, and Behemoth gets caught completely off guard and dies. Make sure you don't let that happen to you. That is no good. Alright, so let's review. First of all, when you're 3v1 in a tri-lane, generally you're going to want to send one hero away to start roaming, since you only need 2 heroes there to sit on 1 hero, and 3 heroes are just excessive, so one person should be making himself useful elsewhere. When you have that kind of advantage, like 3 heroes on 1 or 2 heroes on 1, you want to make sure they don't get any experience, and pulling is one of the key ways people like to do it, so don't let them pull. And if you find yourself against multiple heroes, if they don't stop you, make sure you try to pull, because pulling a lane gets you a lot of experience that you normally wouldn't be able to get. When you're the roaming person in the 3v1 tri-lane, make sure you always know what the other team can see. If you make yourself obvious, then you could easily run into a counter gank, and that's one of the easiest ways to feed the other team an early advantage, so don't do that. Well, anyway, that about does it for the 3v1 tri-lane. Make sure you always just never let the one guy get EXP, and when you're the one guy, try to get as much XP as you can. Generally, the one guy shouldn't be able to get any experience, though. Also, make sure to keep in mind if you're roaming, roam safely, etc. Once again, this is Yoda from Team Evil Geniuses, bringing you this video with Nerdstomper.com. Hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to check out our forums. I like to read the forums for feedback, answer questions, read comments, look for ideas for future videos. So be sure to check that out, and thanks for watching.